Alright, so now I'm going to continue the disassembly of the MacBook Pro 15-inch model A1707, late 2016. So I already took off the cover and I removed the screen. I posted a video right before this one. So if you wanted to see all the steps for that, just watch that video first. Okay, so if you're just removing the motherboard, you actually don't need to remove the whole screen, but you do need to remove or disconnect this cable, okay? The rest of the steps for removing the screen, the antennas, everything, you don't need to do any of that other than the screw for the antenna so that you can kind of move it out of the way when you take out the board. All right, now we'll continue by removing the board. So to remove the board, you will need a T5 and a T4 screwdriver. Alright, so just make sure to have those. If you see me using the green one, that's a T5, and then this will be a T4, just so it's not so confusing. All these little covers, they'll have T4s. You don't need to remove the cover for this one, because this is actually a data recovery port, so there's a special tool. It's kind of expensive, like over $200, but there's a special tool here to access the data using this port. If you needed to get your data and you need that device, you can send your board to me or send your computer to me and I could do that. Or you can buy the device and then you just have to disconnect the battery, make sure it's not plugged in, and then you can use this port connected to another MacBook Pro to get the data. Alright, so yeah, once again, all these little covers will use T4, and then I believe these four at the bottom will also use T4. I don't think this will use a T5. Oh, actually, that one uses a T5. So this model's a little bit different than the other ones. So it looks like the two bottom ones here will use T5, and then these two middle ones will use T4. And then everything that has these little covers on top will use T4, and the rest will be T5. I believe this is also... Okay. These screws are T8s. So the ones that are holding the... what do you call? The heatsink down. Okay, so now we'll remove them. T4 screw. Okay. I try and keep all these little covers in order because the screws, they are different lengths and different sizes, so you kind of want to keep them in order. Make sure you don't get them all mixed up and confused. Alright, once you remove those two screws, you can take the metal plate off. Hopefully you can see what I'm doing. Alright, and then you can take out these two screws. The charge ports will actually stay in the board, so we will just remove this. Oops. Okay. Those two screws. Okay. Once you remove those screws, you can pop this up. This doesn't actually have a metal cover, that's actually the connector. So you can move that, and then you can disconnect that, and then you can disconnect the audio jack here. Alright, just use a pry tool or your fingernail, and then there's the home button or the Touch ID button here. Disconnect that cable as well. Alright, then we will remove, just to make it less confusing, I'll stick with the T4 and then switch to the T5 when I'm done with all the T4 screws. So you have to remove the trackpad cable, and then also the what do you call this? I'm not sure actually what that's connected to. It might be for the keyboard and the fans. So we'll take all of this out and then we'll check what's underneath. Alright. Remove those, remove the metal plate, and then you can unhook or disconnect this connector. Alright, just like that. I'm not sure what this little connector here is for. I've never seen it used for anything. So, yeah. Alright, we'll disconnect this one as well. Alright, take that little metal plate off, and then you can pop up the connector as well. Alright, take this one T4 screw out. For some reason it's stuck. I don't know, it's kind of weird. I don't know why that screw's stuck. It shouldn't be. We'll remove this screw. Okay. It looks like to remove this screw I'm going to have to use some kind of tool because it's stuck really bad. Alright, then we'll remove the 2 screws here. Alright, and take this metal plate out. And then disconnect this. Alright, and then we'll take out the 2 screws for the USB-C ports up here. Alright, then we'll disconnect that. Bend it back a little bit. Alright, remove the USB-C, sorry, not the USB-C, the screw here. I believe this screw is partially for, I mean the connector under here is for the touch ID or the touch bar. So let's remove that. This little metal piece has like a little hole here that it connects, so you have to actually put this side in first and then put the screw side down. So it goes in at an angle like that. Okay, and then disconnect this connector. There we go. And let's see. The adhesive for this you do need to peel up because this will come separately. The fans actually stay on the board until you remove them. Okay. Alright, now we'll just switch to the T8 since there's only 2 screws. So I switch to the T8, remove the 2 screws from there. Alright, one there and one here. Okay, so remove the 2 T8 screws, and then we'll switch to the T5 bit, or not the T5 bit, but the T5 screwdriver. And then we'll remove all of these. Okay, 1, 2, 3. There's normally 4 if you didn't take out the wireless antennas already. So if you're just removing the board, then you don't have to remove you probably didn't remove the antenna ones yet. Okay. So 1 there. Then you got the 2 here. I don't know why this T4 screw wouldn't come out. We'll see. I'll lift the board while I'm unscrewing it, and that should hopefully help me remove it. Okay. Alright. Got all those screws out. A bunch of sirens outside. Okay. So let's see if I can remove. I don't know why this screw is stuck so strong. Oh, I see. So it looks like that little piece that goes into the board came away from the board, so it should come out still. Let's see. I'll just leave it on there. So I'll show you why it's stuck in a bit. Let me remove this. Everything is disconnected. Okay. Alright, so I like to use like part of the heatsink as a little lever to kind of start the lifting up process. And then make sure all these connectors are out of the way. You kind of have to hold them to the sides while you lift it up because they'll keep getting caught on the board. So I lift it while I just keep moving these aside. Right? Oh, don't forget to remove the speakers as well. So there's the speaker connectors, 2 of them. So to remove that, I just get my fingernail underneath or a pry tool and then just pull as close as you can to the connector. I don't pull from up here. I pull from as close to the connector as I can. And then once you get that, you can slide your fingernail or pry tool underneath the front of the thing. I just cut my nails a bit shorter and now they're a little bit too short. But there we go. Alright. This one too, go underneath, pull it up from as close to the connector as you can. Once you do that, then you can lift that aside. There is an adhesive on the connectors, so you do kind of have to move it around. And then there's also this connector here, I forgot as well, for the microphone. So make sure you disconnected all of these. When you're lifting up the board, pull it slowly, so that way you'll see if something is stuck or you forgot to remove something. Okay, this connector is a little bit difficult. The little tab doesn't work, it's just peeling off, so I had to pull it from the sides. And there you go. Alright, so hopefully that's all I had to remove now. Alright, so I'll use that again to kind of lift it. Then I can get underneath, move all these cables aside. Alright, and then we can lift this up, move that cable aside as well. So this you have to constantly like check and move the cables aside to lift it up. Don't try and force it up. Every time it gets stuck, you'll see there's like some cable actually holding it down. So be very slow and gentle with this. You don't want to just quickly rip it out. Alright, there you go. So there's the whole board. We got the whole logic board out. It's not really dusty or anything underneath, so that's good. I already cleaned out the top with a toothbrush and a electric air blower. I will get a little bit of the dust out with a toothbrush, but for now, that's pretty much all there is to removing that. Alright, the replacement part, it has most of the pieces already. I do have to transfer over, as you can see, the button here, and then remove the fans. Let's see, the microphone is there. We got this board for the touch bar. So yeah, the touch bar does have two cables here. Yeah, unless that's for something else, but it looks like they both go to the touch bar. So if you get the whole part like this, their touch bar was going crazy. I don't know if there's a way to remove just the touch bar, but yeah, normally I would transfer over the trackpad as well, because the trackpad, if you've seen my other videos, this thing just peels up, and then you can take the trackpad out pretty easily. There's just the screws here, so there's two. I think they're all T5s. Let me check. Yeah, so these are T5 screws, so there's two here, one here, another two, and then across the side there's two more, and then same thing, two, one, two. Once you remove all those screws, you can actually drop the whole trackpad down, and then you can move it to another one. There are little metal plates that are between the trackpad and the plate, so make sure not to flip the trackpad over, or all those little metal washer plate things will fall out. Okay, so last thing to do is remove the fans and the charge ports, and then the touch button. So to remove the fan, oh, I forgot to show the one screw that's stuck here. So this is why it got stuck. There's this little hex shaped screw that it's supposed to stay in the board, but it came out. So as you can see on this one, it's still there. So if I have to remove it, which I probably will, yeah, I'm gonna have to remove that. So to remove that, you have to get pliers and hold the one side. I don't have my pliers here with me, but basically you'd use pliers to hold this, to squeeze this side while you undo the screw. I'll try it with my hand, but I don't think I can hold it that tight. Oh yeah, I'm gonna definitely need some pliers to remove that. So basically use pliers and hold this as tight as you can, and then undo that screw. Okay, so I'm gonna leave that there for now. I'll take it out later. For now, we'll remove the fan. So to remove the fan, there's 4 screws holding it in place, and I believe they're all T4. So let's remove those 4 screws. One there. Don't mix them up, they are different. All right, another one here. All right, one up here. And then one up here. All right. This does have a little cable attached to it, so you have to remove that cable. So there's this little plastic tab, lift that up. It has some adhesive on it, peel it back. All right, peel the adhesive back, and then flip the little tab just like the other one, flat ribbon cables. Once you do that, you should be able to pull the whole connector out. If you took all the screws out, let me see here. Are they hiding another screw somewhere? No. Okay, so it does stick down a little bit. I think the foam got stuck a little bit. Once you do that, you can lift up the fan and you can pull the connector out, and this is how you remove the fan. Okay, So someone asked me for a video on how to remove the fan, so this video actually shows that, so hopefully that'll be useful to them. All right, then you got the other fan, you want to remove that as well. There's another 4 screws here. Again, you don't want to mix them up, so make sure to keep them in order. All right. All right, another 4 screws. All right, once you do that, same thing as the other one. There's the little tab, lift it up, pull the adhesive back, flip the little plastic tab up, lift up the fan. All right, and then you can pull the fan back with this little tab while you pull it back. Okay, so there you go. Remove both the fans. Okay, let's see what else is missing from this board. We got the speakers are already there. I believe the speakers are held in place with an adhesive. I've never ripped them out, but it looks like there's the metal raised up here, so to lift it up you have to go above between the speaker and that raised metal piece, or from this backside, and then pry it out. I've never tried replacing the speaker on one of these because I haven't ever had one broken. I don't want to just rip it out now. So yeah, I don't want to cause damage that I don't need to, so I will leave that be. Okay, then we just need to transfer over, it looks like, the charge ports and then the Touch ID button. All right, so the charge ports, I believe these are T5. Let me see here. Yeah, so these are held in by 2 T5 screws. So remove those. All right. Remove the 2 T5 screws. And then you should be able to lift up the connector from the back where the screw came out and then wiggle it out this way. Okay, so there you go. So this is what the charge ports look like. Okay, hopefully that was clear. I'm not sure. All right, same thing with the other side. Remove the 2 screws. All right, once you remove the 2 screws, same thing, lift up from the little edge and then just wiggle the charge ports out. All right, the charge ports do have these little rubber washer thingies on them, so make sure you don't lose those. All right, that prevents like dust and other stuff from getting inside, or if for some reason you somehow get water, it won't go inside the computer. Okay, let's see, I think other than that we just need the Touch ID button. So the Touch ID, I believe, is held in with T4 screws. I don't think the T5 will fit. Nope. All right, so we'll switch back to the T4. Be careful because underneath this adhesive here, the cable runs underneath there. So you kind of have to be careful. Okay, so we'll remove the 4 screws holding this in place. Wait, let's see here. Yeah, we have to remove all the screws actually. So be careful. If I remember correctly, there's a washer underneath holding on the button. So when you remove these, you don't want to flip the button over or that thing will fall out. Okay. So we'll remove these 4 screws. Okay, so that's holding on there. So then we got to remove the 2 black screws in the middle. So this little metal plate that they put on the back is basically just like a spring, I guess. It keeps the button springy. Okay, so set that aside. Don't flip it over. Make sure you keep it right side up. If you need a close-up view, oops, I flipped it. If you need a close-up view, it'll look like this, okay? So you have that towards the top. You can see how the springs, they go towards the left and then they connect to the middle. Okay. I don't know if flipping that over will cause problems, but usually I don't want to like put it back differently than how I took it out. So I try and make sure everything's the same way. Okay. So now that we got that out, there's this little black plastic here that we do need to peel up because it's covering the cable. So I use a little needle, but be very careful that you don't accidentally damage the button. Let's see here. So this is a little tricky to remove, it seems. So to be safe, you probably don't want to start from the left side that I did. To be safe, you can actually pry it out from this side, so that way you don't risk jabbing the cable here. But let's take this out. Okay, so on the other one, it doesn't have this plastic stuff there, so I'm going to peel all this plastic up and then transfer it over. Right, let's see here. Hopefully I can transfer it over. It's getting stretched a little bit, so I don't know how well it will transfer to the other piece, but we'll see. So there's this, and it also pulls up a foam, looks like a foam pad or a rubber pad. Okay, so there's that that piece, and then okay, the Touch ID button now is all loose here. It looks like the way they mount this, there's an adhesive, so I am going to have to peel that out. And usually to peel out adhesives, you want to use a little heat. So let me see if I can do this. I'll use the needle. I have this needle that's bent. I'll usually stick the needle underneath and then use the back side to kind of do it, so that way it's not the sharp end poking. I'll use it so it's like this curved. I don't know if you can even see that, but oh, here you go. So I have a bend in the needle, so I'll use the needle to get underneath, and then I'll kind of flip it over, so that way when I pull across, it uses this rounded edge to kind of lift it instead of like stabbing into the material. So that's what I use to kind of lift that. All right. I'll most likely, yeah, I'm gonna have to use heat with this because I don't want to risk damaging it. So this one has a little flex cable here that it looks like it's replaceable, and then the home button has its own, or the Touch ID button has its own thing. So let's see here. So I have this heater thingy I use. You can just use like a hair dryer or something. You don't have to use a special heater. Yeah, so I'll use this, and then I'll just like put the heater against this and let it heat it up. So usually I use this with phones, but yeah. So you basically just warm up the aluminum casing, and then after that you should be able to, when it's hot enough, you should be able to peel out the adhesive. So I have to kind of be careful with this. Okay, might need to heat it from the other side as well. Okay, you just want to warm it up. When the adhesive is warm, it begins like, it loses its stiffness, it becomes like gooey, and then it makes it easier to peel it out. So yeah. Okay. I've replaced the home button on another model, or the Touch ID button on another model, and they didn't do it this way. You can actually pull the button out from the back. This way it's kind of a pain, because then you actually have to route the wire through. So it looks like you have to disconnect these two cables in order to even remove the home button, or the Touch ID button. Sorry, I keep calling it home button. I'm used to working on iPhones. Okay. So you just heat it. Usually you'll know it's ready because the aluminum will be hot to the touch, to the point where it's kind of, if you leave your hand there too long, it kind of burns. Okay. Probably warm enough, but I'll warm it a little bit more. Oops. Sorry. Okay, so let's see if I can remove that now. Alright, now that we got that done, we want to peel up the connector here. Let's see if I can do this and still have it in view. So like I was saying earlier, I use the pointy part of the needle just to get underneath. After that, I kind of flip it over so that way the side of this can get underneath the adhesive without the risk of poking a hole in it. Okay, so just slide the needle across. Looks like it's stuck more on this side. Oh, that side's really stuck. Okay, so this side I can easily get underneath. And then the side with the connector here is what's stuck. So I'm going to actually undo this connector here. So flip up the little latch. Alright, and then you can actually, let's see if I can move it with the needle. Then we can try and pull this connector away. There we go. So the connector is coming out. Come on. There we go. Okay, so there you go. We got the connector out, and then you can remove the Touch ID button this way. So lift up the connector, the Touch ID button will fall through, and then you have to rotate it. Okay, so rotate that, and there you go. We got the little Touch ID power button. Okay, so it doesn't look like there's actually the metal washer on this one that I've seen on other models. Okay, and then we just got to get this connector off the board. So same thing, you might have to apply more heat because it looks like this one's stuck. So I'm going to apply more heat. But that's pretty much all there is to this model. So I'll actually show how to remove the trackpad on the other one, or actually on this one, just so you can see. Okay, hopefully it's warm enough now. Then we can peel this up. Okay, so as you can see, the adhesive is like letting the piece twist, but it's not releasing. So what I like to do is where the cable is, sometimes it's easier. You can put the tool under there since it's already lifted, and then you can pull underneath there. There we go. Alright, so there we go. We got this piece removed as well. Alright, and that's pretty much it. I'll remove the trackpad, and then we will conclude this video. So there we go. Set the power button aside. Alright, so again, was it a T5, I believe? Yeah, so for the trackpad you need a T5. Peel up the adhesive from the battery. Alright, and then just remove all these screws. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The keyboard, they actually use some rivets and stuff to hold it into the frame. So if you need to replace the keyboard, you'll actually want to replace the whole trackpad assembly, or the keyboard palm rest assembly. The trackpad you can transfer over. Okay, so just remove all of that. And the battery, you can also buy like the whole palm rest. A lot of times it'll come with the battery, but to get the adhesive out, it's kind of a pain if you want to do the battery separately. But if you're going to do that, try and drain your computer so that way if you accidentally puncture the battery, it's not going to catch on fire. And yeah. Okay. So remove the last screw. Alright, once you do that, lift up the cable, and then lift up the whole thing here. Oh, you might have to actually remove this the last screw here. Okay, so the middle screw you have to remove as well. So this model, they have a lot more screws that need to be removed. All right, so hold up the connector and then lift up the palm rest. If you have the screen still attached, you can do the same thing. Just open the screen slightly, and then you have to rotate it a bit to get the cable through this hole. Okay, just like that. There you go. And like I was saying, there are these little metal washers here. So there's these metal washers and these circle ones, and then these oval ones that go across 2 screws. So make sure you don't flip the thing over, this trackpad over, because then you can lose all those washers. Okay, and then here you can see inside. That's pretty much it, the battery. Usually if you're replacing just the battery and scraping the adhesive, you want to remove the trackpad so you don't accidentally damage the trackpad or the trackpad cable. But yeah, that's pretty much it. If you wanted to replace the headphone jack, there are the 2 screws there. You just remove that and then you can pull this out. But I believe that's pretty much it. The other keyboard assembly has all the same pieces, so I don't need to take anything out. And yeah, hopefully this video helped you. If it did, please like and subscribe because that'll help me. And thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.